Hey guys, I am sorry again about the delay. The flu is a bitch. I initially filmed a video on this topic forever ago, but upon editing it and rewatching it, I just really wasn't happy with how I spoke about the issue, and I realized that I had avoided talking about a very important topic that I really didn't want to talk about at that time, but the time is now, and that topic is cultural appropriation. This is a term that has caused so much agony, so many think pieces, so many like, oh, we can't eat Chinese food now, is that cultural appropriation stuff? And cultural appropriation is not an easy topic because it is a very complicated issue that is based around a fairly simple concept, but because of the way people are, it has no longer become that. So basically, let me sum up what I believe is the basic gist of what cultural appropriation is talking about. Cultural appropriation is what happens when people take significant aspects of other cultures and either A, have no real understanding of what those cultural symbols or mythologies or religious iconography means, and just is using it for an exotic, ooh, look at me, I'm wearing a war headdress at Coachella, I'm such a cool white girl type of things. Or B, which I think is kind of, at least for me, the crux of what I think makes cultural appropriation dangerous, is that you are enjoying the culture and the cool factor of these things while not giving a fuck about the people that these things come from. The indigenous populations are especially heavily hit with this because, especially here in America, the American Indian is very, very fetishized. And they are treated almost as like a mythical people. And that is something that all indigenous communities have kind of had to deal with, this kind of exotification of their culture, their history, their stoicism, while a complete and utter ignorance of their pain, their suffering, their trials and tribulations, and a sort of communal desire to help them in their current situation. Which leads us to Moana. Now let me start off by saying that I fucking love Moana. Like, just talking about it as a film, I thought Moana was extremely well done. I love the soundtrack. I have listened to it so many times. It actually has grown on me the more I've listened to it. I think that I Am Moana is one of the best just lines, scenes, songs in the Disney canon, point blank. I think Moana is a great heroine. I think it's probably the first Disney movie in a long time you can have a really engaging gender conversation about, because it doesn't have any of the awkward gender politics that other Disney movies have had, which is quite refreshing, honestly, and it avoids a lot of the very common tropes there while still being very much a classic Disney film. So I think Moana is definitely a great Disney movie and a great addition to Disney canon. There are people from the Polynesian community who have had concerns and complaints about some of the aspects of the film, particularly its depiction of Maui, the sort of mixed messages that Disney has been giving about how much input people from that community have had in making this film, which is a very big deal. And even though I have indigenous background, I am not Polynesian, so I'm not going to speak over those people. I will leave links down below to the videos of some of these activists talking about these issues. But largely the issue that these activists and academics are having is that this film and films like this are not made really with the care and concern of the culture behind them. They do not have a significant amount of input in the making of these movies, and therefore they are appropriating this culture into making a very successful movie, and the people who have basically had their culture taken to make this film are not reaping any benefits from this, either for themselves or for the community. And this is a kind of an issue with every single non-white Disney princess character, which is why I felt this video was worth making, because like I said before, I'm not Polynesian, so I can't speak on those issues. But what I can say is that as someone who has watched Disney movies and has been talking about and analyzing Disney movies for a very long time, one thing is exceptionally clear: Disney sucks at race. I mean, almost across the board in terms of racial depictions, Disney has messed up many more times than they have gotten right. And that is why these conversations tend to get so heated. There is a mentality of Disney is damned if they do, damned if they don't, while ignoring the larger factor that the main reason why these movies are not great at race is because the people of that race have no input in the writing room or behind the scenes in really effective ways. They're not the producers, they are not the CEOs, they are just often consultants, or they help out in giving some input. I know that happened in Lilo and Stitch, that the actress Tia Carrere gave a lot of input because she herself is Hawaiian in helping to better portray the Hawaiian culture. But that is something that should have been done from the very beginning, but it wasn't, because that is not the main goal of these films. At the end of the day, when we have these racial conversations about Disney and racial identity in Disney movies, we have to remember one very important thing. These movies exist to make money by giving us hit songs, amazing animation, some ill scenery, porn, and costumes, and that's really it. The racial aspects are not meant to really be at the forefront besides giving them diversity points. And that's basically been the gist from the very beginning. And if we look at all of the non-white Disney princesses that we've had, they all have problems. All of them. Either from the way that character is portrayed, how they're drawn, or just how their culture is portrayed in the movie. I.e. not very well, because like I said before, these are not that racial aspect is not the main goal of it. And you can get this from something like Aladdin, for example. In Aladdin, Jasmine and Aladdin, all these characters are supposed to be Muslim. Do you recognize this in the movie? Absolutely not. There is only one time where the Sultan says praise Allah, where his Muslim heritage is really spoken about. Even though there are many veiled women, Jasmine, who is the main female protagonist, is not veiled. Jafar is the most Arab-looking character of the main cast, and he is the villain. And let us not forget the infamous line where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. Aladdin is a very special case because I think up until now with Moana, of all of the non-white Disney films, Aladdin is and has been the most successful. It was a hugely successful movie. The musical is also very successful. It is very beloved. Jasmine is one of the most iconic Disney princesses. This does not help Muslims at all, or Arabic people, because you're not supposed to think of Jasmine as Arab or as Muslim. There is nothing about her character that is meant to emphasize the racial aspects of her character, except for her sexy harem girl outfit, which is the only thing really about her that is non-white, besides her skin and her hair. I mean, really, the only factor about her that is non-Western is her outfit, and it is the most exotic part of her, and kind of a fetishist kind of aspect of it. And that's the problem. We go on to something like Pocahontas, one of the most, if everyone who liked and enjoyed Pocahontas cared about the Dakota Pipeline, that would be a non-issue. There's nothing about Pocahontas that really illustrates the struggle of the Powhatan tribe. It does not really give Pocahontas doesn't really address any of the central conflicts of that time period. It puts it all on the back of Radcliffe, who's a dumbass, and racial prosperity arises just because Pocahontas and John Smith fall in love, even though Pocahontas was 12 years old. I mean, it's just stupid. You know what I mean? It's the same thing again. And if we go on to Mulan Mulan has this sort of, it's a movie that's very much, takes place in China, but there's very little going on that has to do with actual Chinese culture, if you get what I mean. There's a reason why the comic relief is voiced by a black comedian. It's not really about that culture. And there's also the issue of the fact that it's a very hyper misogynistic version of China, which is not to say that China back then was spectacular boombaya, but as many Chinese sort of academics have brought up, it is sort of the only Disney movie where gender is brought up in such an explicit way of being like, these women are being oppressed, even though all of these other films take place in times where women would have also been oppressed. But it's only really brought up in China so that Mulan can go and have this whole dramatic thing about she's disguised as a man, and therefore we have to make it really, really, really specific that the only thing she can do is be a daughter and get married. Must emphasize that explicitly. Then we go to Tiana, who is a frog the entire movie, and therefore gets none of the pomp and circumstance of any of the other Disney princesses. Not to mention that she is the only princess to be with a man who is not the same race as she is, which is not inherently an issue, except that you therefore have no positive black male character in the entire movie besides a dead man. It's like, when you say it out loud, you hear how ridiculous these things sound and how fucked up it sounds, but because it's under the sheen of a Disney franchise and a Disney luminosity, we're not supposed to think about these things. But the issue is that these movies want to get points for being diverse. They do. All of them. Every movie that wants to talk about, I put a gay character in here, I put a black character in there, they all want points. And the moment we say, hey, you fucked up, they're like, well, we tried, man. We tried, and you're never happy, and I don't know what I can do about it. I don't understand. The problem is that they aren't really trying, at least not as well as they could be. It's who's writing it, it's who's producing it, it's who's directing it. These are the people who have the power to tell this story in their way. And I think the hardest part for me about Disney's failures is that I know that they can do better. I mean, they made Zootopia. Zootopia is an excellent movie that talks about race. Of course, it needs animals to do so because that makes it safe. But Disney has also made The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which talks explicitly about race and social justice in a way that I think is quite amazing and brilliant. And I also think that it managed to make a really great diverse cast in Atlantis. While it falls apart in the last act because it's just not written well, that is not a problem with the diversity of the cast. It has a very diverse, fun, charismatic cast. All of them have personalities. It can be done, but it is only ever done when they are doing it on their special heart projects and not in their money-making enterprises like Moana, like Frozen, like Tangled, etc. and so forth. Because they know that at the end of the day, these movies are meant to portray an image that everyone can identify with. And if you make it too culturally tied to something, you risk alienating people. For me, Tiana's existence, just her being there, was exciting. And then as I watched the movie and I realized that she's going to be a frog this entire movie, which means, it's going to be so hard to make music videos on my computer with her because she only has like 15 minutes of actual human screen time. I think her and Aurora are up there with the shortest amount because Aurora's unconscious half the movie. And it's those little things that may seem minuscule, but when you take it into its entirety, in the entire history of Disney and the entire history of how Disney has depicted race, you see it for the larger problem that it is. I think the thing that we all have to keep in mind is that these movies are made to help Disney, not these indigenous people, not the African Americans, not Asian Americans, not any of it. It's made to make money for Disney. This movie is not going to help anyone who is Polyasian, who who is Polynesian with their struggles, with their reality. And it's not going to create empathy for them either on a large scale, because we've obviously seen it hasn't happened. Mulan, Pocahontas, Aladdin have not made people more accepting of the groups those films are based on, because that's not the point. You can tear all of Jasmine's ethnicity away from her and still have a satisfying movie and a character that you like. You don't have to care what race she is, because it doesn't matter to the story. It doesn't really matter to most people. They can enjoy it as a narrative and then turn off and not care about the people who created that narrative. You can enjoy Mulan and still be racist against Chinese people. One will not help the other. And that's why we cannot put these criticisms that these activists are having on the back burner, because it makes us uncomfortable about something that we enjoy. We may even disagree with them. I mean, I don't agree with every single criticism that I've seen Black academics raise at Disney. There are some I think are kind of over the top, and I don't agree with them. But it deserves to be said, because there is a history of that problem. And so for me, I'm going to end it with this. Moana is a great fucking movie. But do you care more about Polynesian people than you did before? I mean, that's really what it comes down to for a lot of these activists, because to them, Moana is fine and great, and it's great to see themselves represented, of course, but is this going to make people care more about their reality and their identity? Is it going to make people be less racist to them in the street? Is it going to make people care about what has happened to their population and about colonization? Absolutely not. And therefore, we can't put these movies on a pedestal, because that pedestal is a false one. On that note, I gotta tell you guys, so to lighten things up, we're gonna go through the Moana soundtrack, and we're gonna talk about all the bangers. First of all, everything, Shiny, excellent. But however, I Am Moana, Song of the Ancestors is definitely number one for me. How Far I'll Go, I love that. Shiny, You're Welcome. Logo Te Pay, I'm so sorry. I'm being real ignorant right now because that was a terrible pronunciation. Know Who You Are, We Know the Way. I mean, everything, it's just all good. It sounds amazing. It's beautifully good. I just when I think about soundtracks that move me emotionally when it comes to Disney films, like Moana has very much like edged up to the top. Like for me, it's very much like the songs that make me emotional when I listen to them that are Disney songs are definitely Circle of Life, from The Lion King, Eye to Eye from A Goofy Movie, straight up, Beauty and the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, Once Upon a Dream, and now definitely I Am Moana. Like when I hear I Am Moana, I cannot even, like, I just get chills. When she says her, like, the line, I just get like all shaky and like, you know, it's great. I love it. I love the soundtrack. But despite that, I can still understand and respect the criticism that people have. We can do both. It's okay. I promise you. And hopefully we'll have more Moanas and we'll be moving forward, because I do think that it isn't that they were trying, and while that trying is imperfect, that we need to just keep moving forward and have more awesome Moanas and less basic Frozens. Sorry, that Frozen shade was not necessary, but it is there now.